Good morning. So we're back at it again for another part of this day in the life of a float center owner series, and this morning's a little bit different from what most float center owners probably do, but we record a podcast every Wednesday morning, and so I'm up early to get down and set up for the podcast. We've got Josh Martin on the show today. He's talking about a new book that he's going to be releasing, so that'll be super exciting to listen to. And so I'm gonna take you along on my commute to work and then show you a little bit about how I set up for recording the podcast. So let's get into it. I hope you didn't mind sitting with me for that long commute. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the behind the scenes setup for the podcast. I'm running a little bit late on time, so I'm not going to explain a whole lot now. I'll get to it after, but you're going to just kind of watch as I'm getting everything set up. I just showed you a bit of the behind the scenes setup for podcast, and so if you want more info on all the stuff featured or all the gear that I use in the podcast, drop a comment below and I'll definitely get around to making a video about that at some point. We've talked about it a couple of times on the podcast before, but not in fine detail, so I could definitely go ahead and do something like that. All right, so I'm planning on going and getting the rest of my deep clean work done early now so that I can focus on completing a video for the end of this week. I think what I'm going to do is talk about a few of my top tips for getting good at cold plunges, just because this vlog is going to be a beast to edit and I probably won't get it done this week. So I'm trying to record something else so that I can have that up, because I'm committed to putting out a vlog or video of some sort in addition to the podcast every week. That was my goal for 2020, and I'm still sticking with it for now. So Tuesdays we do more of our maintenance and deep cleaning stuff later on in the day, so it's actually our shortest day of the week. And I'm gonna get to work on some of that. I usually get it done early if possible, when I can, so that I don't have to stick around all night long. It's kind of my shortest day of the week. I'm usually here every day, and so it's nice when I don't always have to stay until the bitter end. So what you're seeing me do now is swapping out the ozone tubing for the ozonator in the float tank. And this is an important thing to pay attention to, not just on a weekly basis. We do this several times a week to make sure there's no salt buildup in that line of the ozone tubing. Just because ozone is the primary way that we keep the float tanks sanitized, and it does a really great job of that, but you've got to make sure that that very small tubing doesn't get filled with salt water, which is very easy for it to do. And so that's something that I do a couple times a week, but also when I'm changing out the filters. When you go to change the filter, if you've ever done it on a pool, it's the same kind of procedure where you've got to change the filter fairly quickly, because first off, well, with changing a float tank filter, you don't want the salt water getting everywhere, so the swap out, making it fairly fast, is pretty useful. And then you also want to turn the filter on, but you've got to remember the proper steps in place so that you're first resealing the valve so that the bleeder valve isn't shooting water out, and then you need to open it up to let all the air out of the system, because it's not good to have air in the system of any kind of hot tub or float tank or anything like that. It can cause the pump to overheat, since all those pumps are designed to work in water. So adding the salt and water to the float tanks is the last thing that I do with these deep clean days, because it takes a little bit of time for it to dissolve and the temperature to come back up, because even adding just a little bit of salt actually drops the temperature of the water by a few degrees, and so I want to make sure that nobody pops in unexpectedly. And so yes, I'm going to now try to get through editing a FlowCast episode. So that's where this episode of the vlog ends. As I'm recording this, it is March 24th, 2020, and my day in the life of a float center owner looks drastically different, as it does for most people at this time and through these difficult times. So I hope you stay positive and stay focused, keep making progress through this time. And in the coming videos and podcast episodes, we're going to be talking more about how you can do that. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to stay notified of upcoming videos. And of course, as always, dream on and find your flow.